maybe actually didn't see God or didn't see him fully. And this opinion in my mind has less validity because Jacob tells us, I saw God face to face and yet my life was spared. So, I don't know if
And it said he named it Peniel,
Yeah.
that means facing God.
Right. Yeah. So I'm not so hot on this opinion, but, yeah, who knows?
What miraculous power he has just to touch the hip.
Yeah.
I think I read where the Jews don't eat.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It says, yeah.
It says so in here, they don't have the sinew of the nerve that runs in the hollow of the thigh.
Tradition.
Eating sinew just does not sound good to me anyway.
Yeah, confusing section. But do a little bit extra research and break it down and it kind of makes sense.
Just have a hard time envisioning it.
He's had quite a past. Jacob's ladder,
Yeah,
wrestling with God.
yeah. And maybe the thought just occurred to me, maybe Jacob's ladder was the precursor to this. That God was going to come down from the heavens to meet Jacob. I'm glad you brought that up. That could be. Gary, I think we need to write our own commentary.
I'm not bright enough, I gotta read others.
I feel the same way.
No insight.
I would never want to write a book. I'd get tired halfway through, or quarter of the way through probably. So yeah, this is a fun section. And he names that area that he's seen God. The sun rose above him as he passed Peniel, and he was limping because of his hip.
So on the map that you have in color, where did this all occur?
Well, let's see if we can figure that out. Let's see.
They named the river he crossed, Jacob, no?
The river is Jabbok.
That's not on my map.
So he was going, I think he started way up on top there in Padam. And he was going to go see Esau down way at the bottom, Seir. But
That's
he's,
south of the Dead Sea.
yep, but he stopped in Sukol, which is that red dot to the right. So he stopped pretty far away from him. So I would think that the fight happened somewhere in the middle there. Doesn't really tell us where. There's no distinguishing areas or marks in that middle part. Let's see if we can, in our readings, if it says where the battle happened.
So this all happened before he met his brother, Esau.
Yes, yep, the evening before. He prayed to God, set up his plan, told his people how it was going to happen, and then he had his wrestling with God. Okay, ford of the Jabbok. So I wonder if the Jabbok is that blue line under Padam, Aram. You know, if you drop straight down.
That's a river that feeds
okay.
into the Jordan.
So there's Sukkoth. I don't see the river though.
Probably a fair fight, they didn't have an official takedown.
Oh, okay.
Call three.
Okay, so it was almost right by Sukkoth. Okay. So Deb gave me a better map, and the river where the battle was, if you could draw a line between Sukkoth and, I can't even read the last one, the blue one, looks like M-A-N, the two camps word.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be right in there somewhere. doesn't make too much sense. Yeah, but that's what this map shows. So it looks like almost he crossed the river and then went back to Sukkoth after the battle, after he met with Esau.
Looking at the map, Israel is such a tiny little area in red,
Hey, how's it going?
or in green,
Good.
Yeah?
size of New Jersey.
Okay, I'll make a copy of this map for everybody before tonight's over. How are you, Rich?
Oh, good. How about you?
I'm well. All right, so into chapter 33. Oh, also in the notes, there's a nice little graphic there by a rabbi of the cycle of Jacob's deceptions.
That should
Back
be a
and forth.
book in itself. Gracious goodness.
Oh, on the back.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
All right, chapter 33. Jacob looked up, and there was Esau, coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 female servants. How did he order his family?
Well, his favorites were in the back by him.
Yeah.
That was, I think, one of the most important parts.
Servants, and then Leah, and then Rachel.
Yeah, Rachel and Joseph were in the back.
Yep.
They were his favorites. It started already.
It started already.
Yeah. Like father, like son. Or brothers and his kids.
Yep.
And he bows down 7 times.
Yeah.
Complete number.
Yep.
The most expendable and the most vulnerable spots.
Mm-hmm. He bowed down 7 times, so he was completely humble. And the commentary I saw was just as a servant does to his Lord. So he's reinforcing the fact that, you're in charge here. And then all the wives and children do the same thing in verses 5 and 7.
And if we back up just a little bit.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that Jacob limped because of his hip,
Mhm.
and Esau ran.
Hmm.
Sometimes God has to touch us and kind of get our attention and adjust our walk
Mhm.
as Christians. But those who are not Christians, not following God, he just lets them run free, run amok, go their way.
No, there you go.
God disciplines us
Uh-huh.
if he doesn't love us.
He disciplines the ones he loves.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they both wept.
In all that time, he didn't know if his father and mother were still alive, Rachel and
I think he does know that they're still alive, because later on, I think in chapter 35, they both come back to bury him. So it seems like word gets around somehow. So I think they both know that mom and dad are still alive.
But that's the one thing, because I kind of read ahead a little bit.
Uh-huh.
There's no mention of
Mm-mm.
Rebecca's death. So, but we know Isaac's still alive. But
Yeah,
what happened to Rebecca?
I'll have to research that.
A goat got her. I don't know.
A what?
A goat.
A goat got her.
Women weren't that important. No, to
No,
waste space in the
But it
Bible.
talks about Sarah and when she passed away, and it talks about Rachel dying. But there's no mention of Rebecca after she sent her son to Laban.
Yeah, end of story.
Yeah.
She served her job. She did her job. That was it.
Yeah. Maybe because she's so deceptive.
It says in here, talking about the limping, Says after the encounter, Jacob was limping because of his hip, each step reminding him that he no longer operated in his own strength, but in God's. Jacob was changed for the better, from cunning to clinging, from resisting to resting, and from crafty to the conquered one.
Except he goes another direction.
And we'll find out why.
Okay.
So, and Esau's trying to buy off, Jacob's trying to buy off Esau. So, as I'm reading this, I'm wondering, how did Esau change so drastically? He wants to kill Jacob, and then all of a sudden, 20 years later, he doesn't.
Doesn't even want the stuff.
Doesn't even want the stuff.
In my Bible, in the footnotes, it says, God had dealt with Esau and placed within him the desire for reconciliation with his brother. Esau's friendly attitude was God's answer to Jacob's prayer.
We're just like with Laban. Laban was mellowed out a little bit and not kill everybody.
Yeah. So maybe if Jacob didn't pray to God in chapter 32, verse 11, maybe the whole thing would have changed. Maybe that's why Esau had 400 guys with him until the prayer of Jacob. We won't know till we get up there, but that's possible. That's possible. Save me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, for I am afraid he will come and attack me.
Didn't hurt that Jacob bowed down to him.
Yeah. But would that be enough to change his mind?
Yeah.
Because he wanted to murder him. He stole everything from him. Made him run away from Esau could no longer stay home. Had to leave his mom and dad. So, hard to
But
say.
I think Jacob is pretty lucky that Esau has done as well as he has.
Could be too.
Because, I
Yeah.
think it's made him a kinder, what if he had nothing and Jacob shows up? He's still gonna be really mad,
That could be too.
I think, but thank heaven,
Mm-hmm.
Esau has done very well for himself. And he's telling him, I don't need your stuff.
Yeah.
I've got my own, but you don't see, or maybe I'm missing it, where Esau is really saying that he was blessed with it from God.
No.
I just don't get the feeling he's a really religious person.
Mm-mm. There's nothing, like you said before, Goldie, there's nothing in here that says Esau follows God at all.
Right, it's like he did it himself,
Yeah.
but I'm so surprised that, he's so glad to see his brother.
Yeah.
It's wonderful, but it seems strange.
It's amazing at what 20 years can do.
Yeah, kind of, softens the edges.
20 years and a little bit of prayer.
Yes.
See, I think that's what it is, yeah.
Because with other people, 20 years, that's a long time to cook.
Yes,
I know some people who still hold on to grudges
forever.
of 20 years
Yeah.
and longer.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, what happens is it tends to eat at those people.
right.
The other person doesn't even know
No.
what's going on.
No.
But that person that's holding a grudge,
Yeah, they're the ones
they're
that
getting
suffer.
poisoned. So Esau, he's laying out the ground plan. He says, let us be on our way. I'll accompany you. And then what does Jacob say?
Oh, that's okay.
I'll come by myself.
That's
Yep.
We don't want to hold you up.
Yeah,
I've got too much stuff. Yeah.
more excuses. My children are tender, and I must care for the ewes and the cows that are nursing their young. If they're driven hard one day, all the animals will die.
I mean, you can just almost tell in these words that he's like making it up.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it seemed like, I'm thinking, well, this is a lame excuse.
Mm-hmm. And then verse 15, what does Esau say then?
I'm gonna give you some guys to help out.
Yeah, I've got to give you some guys.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, never mind.
No, never mind.
I'm good.
Yep.
Backtrack
Sounds
To
like
the
a
end.
lack of trust.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
the end of chapter 10, where Jacob was saying, For to see your face, Esau, is like seeing the face of God. So, kind of an interesting thought that he'd bring that up and kind of hint to Esau that he has seen the face of God.
Well, that's kind of in the groveling mode, don't you think?
Right?
And buttering on the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
with little belief to go behind it.
Did, during that wrestling maybe, I'm just thinking, did God tell him, I want you to go to this part, I want you to go to this land, I don't want you to share it with your brother?
That's exactly what happened.
Oh, okay.
Because what happened is, even though...
It wasn't in my footnotes, so.
Even though Jacob is deceiving Esau, what he's actually doing is he's obeying God. God was really specific. He says, you need to go here. And what Esau is doing is, Jacob might be thinking that Esau wants to combine the families. He wants to come back together and be one family.
And he married Hittites or whatever.
He's got 2 Hittite wives and maybe 2 good wives.
Okay.
But Jacob knows he can't do that because God specifically told him, you need to go here, and I'm going to bless you. You're going to have your own nation. And he's hearing Esau, and what Esau is saying is, I'll leave you some guys. You know, come on, we'll go back home together. And I think that's what's happening.
Could it also be that momentary thing where you're happy to see your brother? You haven't seen him for 20 years. There's a good reconciliation there. But if you go back with him and live your life with him, how long before battles are going to erupt again?
And also, since
And that's
Esau
probably what
doesn't
had
follow
him.
God,
Yeah.
That's right,
Yeah.
he
he's gonna
came
drift
running,
away.
right?
So, of course, there's options there. And option 1, I think option 1 is from a rabbi. Yeah. Jacob does mislead his brother.
No.
Yeah, he does.
Imagine
He
that.
reassures Esau that he'll
We know
follow
how
him
this
in some
ends, don't we?
distance. And then he falls pretty short of going there. And so he does mislead him, that's true. So it's not really option 1 or option 2. And then option 2, Jacob could have thought that Esau wanted to become a closer family now that they've reconciled, and that's not what God wants. God's told Jacob to go home, and he's being obedient to God. The Jacob-Esau reconciliation is true. They did reconcile, and they no longer hate each other. And we'll see that later in Genesis 35:29 when they come back and bury Isaac. So they do get along, it's just this is not what God wants.
Right.
God
Yeah.
wants him to go.
And I also I read another little thing that said Jacob had to make amends with his brother in order to be rightly in the place of their father. There was like a oath or something that made it, if he was still fighting or holding grudges against his brother,
That makes
it was
sense.
like fighting with his father.
That makes sense.
Huh.
And there's a couple of verses in the New Testament that allude to us and our relationship with other Christians. So,
Well, and here too, I'm not gonna say Jacob out and out lied, but he didn't really tell the truth either. But had he told Esau that God and I have talked, and
Yeah.
we've gotta do this, and I've gotta do it that way, I think he'd have been mad all over again because
Probably.
Jacob was, closer to God than Esau was.
Because how do our friends and relatives act when we say, well, God told me to do this?
Yeah,
They just go, seriously?
yeah,
God told you to do that.
yeah.
They roll their eyes.
They
Yeah.
roll their eyes, they don't believe us.
Right.
So Goldie, I think you're right there.
Yeah,
He had to lie.
yep.
Because
It
Esau
would've-
wasn't gonna take no for an answer.
No, it'd have just caused.
He had 400
And he's
men.
got
Yes.
400 guys, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't wanna make him mad.
Yeah.
He's got,
Following up
and I'm
on
sure he
her
was a bigger,
thought,
brawnier guy. than-
Yeah.
Before communion, if you have something against someone,
Sure.
you shouldn't take communion. You
Right.
should go out and get that straightened out right
Yeah.
off the bat.
and that's one of them, that's in Matthew 5.
Yeah. And we're also told that your prayers aren't answered unless you go to the one that you think might have something against you and tell them that you're sorry. We're told, like Deb said, throughout the New Testament to reconcile.
And even the Lord's
And-
Prayer,
Yeah.
forgive
and-
others is,
And then in 1 John, it said that if you say that you love God, but hate your brother, you're a liar.
Uh-huh.
Because who can love God who they haven't seen if they don't love their brother,
Right.
which they
Yeah.
do see.
Yep. Yep.
my life lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Forgive and forget.
Right.
That's it.
Oh.
Okay.
There he set up an altar and called it Eliho Israel, which means God is a God of Israel.
Mhm.
And I got to thinking about that. Israel wasn't a factor yet. So this meant to him personally.
Right.
God, he's saying
Yeah.
God is my God.
Finally, Jacob's got a God that he prays to, and God listens to him, probably saved him from Esau. So, what looks like a pretty simple section, there's a couple twists there.
Now mine says the well he dug there, when Jacob was there, I guess apparently it can still be seen today.
Wow.
Huh, not dried up, huh?
No, no. So that's the one near Shechem.
Shechem?
Mm-hmm. Because
Did
it says he
say that
followed the
bought
steps of
property?
Abraham.
Did Jacob buy land?
For 100 pieces of money.
Yep. For 100
Even though
pieces of
the land was
silver.
promised, they still had to buy, just like Abraham buying the burial site,
Yep.
and set up an altar like Abraham did.
Mhm.
Funny thing is, they didn't walk in and say, well, God gave this to me, you have to get out. That's interesting.
Well,
Not at this point.
Yeah, it's not theirs yet.
No.
Yeah, it's still a promise. So next week we have 3 chapters.
Oh, okay.
34, 5, and 30.
Let me get copies of the notes.